Hello viewers, Flash Motorsport here and welcome to Brands Hatch in GT3. So I did a thing, I got curious and went over to see, really, is GT3 that scary? Well, me showing you these practice laps will really answer that question of my skill level in GT3. Last time I've done GT3 on Forza was on release. So it's been a little while, and because I don't do things in a clever manner, I just jump right in and see what happens. This is exactly what happened. So coming out of the pits, well, coming around your first lap before joining your practice session, this was turn one. Yeah, do you know, it'd be quite handy if you know how to turn. I totally missed that. Totally missed it. I have no idea why. Just went straight off track. So up the hill we go, looking out for the 100-meter marker, braking down to first gear. I ultimately go for second gear later on, obviously due to the amount of wheel spin you get in the GT3. I picked the Corvette because when the release happened, I brought the Ford GT because why wouldn't you? The Ford GT looks awesome. And I didn't like the way it sounded. So then I test drove the Corvette and I liked the way it sounded. So I picked the Corvette because of the sound of the engine. I honestly have very little knowledge on Forza on GT3. So choosing a car, I picked it on the best soundtrack. To be quite honest, I didn't choose any other cars to test their soundtrack either. I just picked this one, the next one in the line, and I liked the way it sounded. I thought, I'm going for it. You know, I don't want to get too spoiled for choice and make the wrong decision and go off track again. So, as you can see, my practice session is going extremely well. I am trying to figure out and get used to how a GT3 car feels on Forza. I mean, I've done GT3 in ACC and other games, but on them you do have the option to customize the way the car is, such as traction control, ABS control, brake bias, things like that, where on here you're very locked down to either the game's traction control system, which I don't think will be anywhere near like what a GT3 car really is. So that's an on and off switch, so mine's obviously off, and the ABS is on just because I left it on since touring cars. So I do manage to make this corner just about on the breath of my neck, holding onto that wheel for dear life, braking at the 1 meter marker again, or 100 meter marker, sorry, down the second gear, coasting it around, just feathering the throttle on so I can come out the corner in a straight line. And like I said, I'm trying to get used to the way the back of the car feels and be able to try and control it. So if it does skid out, I can hold it and pretty much use a slide to my advantage if I do get there. And I go off track again. We have 3 minutes and 30 seconds of practice left, so I did cut it a bit short. It was a last minute decision to join GT3 out of curiosity. And yeah, I mean, what's the worst that could happen? I'll come last. You know, it is what it is, really. But we are pretty much finding our feet now with this car, understanding how fast I need to take the corners at a guesstimate. Like I say, this is my first time driving this car since release of this game. So now I've got all the excuses out I could think of at this present time. Let's just jump right into the race. Before we do, if you like what you're seeing here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And I'd also like to thank our channel members, which is Andy Good and Jeffrey Anderson. Thank you for being a member of this channel. Onto the race. Surprisingly enough, there wasn't many people in this lobby, so that could either be one of two things. It'd be good or bad. And I'm expecting it to be good. So we're starting at the back of the pack, luckily enough, so we're not going to hold anybody up, but we do get a very good start off the line and manage to make a position. I do ultimately let off the throttle to keep the two cars in front. I think it's a Lamborghini and a GT40. I don't want to fight in the first corner and lose and go into the gravel. I at least want to try and finish this race in one piece. Braking down into second gear, Lamborghini does a late dive bomber, rear ends me and then pushes me around the corner and then ultimately goes off track. So we keep that position, we can't grumble like that. Braking down the third gear, coasting around this corner, as you got to be mindful of the track limits when you're coming back out to the outer part of the track. Coming down here, looking for a 100 marker, braking down to third gear, looking about 75 miles per hour. Rub this curb on your left and accelerate up the hill we go. Probably could go a little bit faster than I do, I'm a little bit more cautious still. But as we're coming down this back straight, I'm looking to make a move on the Lamborghini. I'm worried about now we're going to get pinched, but lucky enough we're still in the position. I do brake, and surprisingly they brake later than I do and manage to hold it. So I brake at about the 100-meter mark and again brake here at 100-meter marker over the curb. I guess that car has better brakes than I do. Anyway, you can see the two cars in front fighting. I do get caught up in what they're doing, touch the mud a little bit and unsteady the car and overcompensate the correction, which ultimately pushes me off the track. Well, push myself off the track, but yeah. Coming through here in third gear, accelerating out the other side, down the latter part of the straight, looking out for the grass to end and braking just before it into third gear. And I'm going quite, like I say, very steady through here. The two cars in front are fighting each other and ultimately put themselves into the grass. So that's 2 positions gained. I am on pole. I'm in P3. Like, how? You know, I mean, I'm very lucky. I did start at the back of the pack, which wasn't very far down the list, but still counts. Braking 100-meter marker down in second gear, coming round this curve, nice and steady, accelerating on very gently to not have wheel spin. And there was a little bit there, so I let off to try and compensate. Coming around this corner in third gear, accelerating out of it, and along we go. Looking out on the right side for the 100-meter marker, braking down into third gear. We're coasting it around and do about 80 here. I dab on the brakes because I can see it going out too far. So I think about 75 is a good place to be. As you can see, the weather is changing. I sort of wish now, looking at this, that I actually checked that the weather wasn't going to change. So I would have gone for wet tyres to start with. And it saves me having to now pit because I'm on medium tyres. Anyway, looking out for 100-meter marker again. Down on the brakes in the third gear. Over the curb we go. Come back to the outside of the track. Getting it just right there. I think I could have turned a little bit more and have held it. But as it's getting wet, the car is getting a bit slippy. And the last thing you want to do really is be on the curb in a slippy car. Braking down to second gear. I'm trying to take it very steady. I would rather stay on the track and be slower than go off the track trying to keep up the car in front. Braking again down to third gear. I'm going down to second gear because I'm going to go into the pits and change the rubber on my wheels. Coming out the other side, we have lost the position. We are now in P4. So someone's chose not to pit, and I think that's pretty brave of them. Kudos to them. More go for you, man. Coming up the hill, braking at the 100-meter marker. The car is very slippy. I think the track is more greasy than wet. You can hear the tyres still skidding, so it's not wet enough for wet tyres yet, but I do think it's too wet for medium tyres. So we're in that weird transition limit, but you can see it is getting heavier and heavier. So we have made the right choice to pit now. Braking again at 100-meter marker, coasting it around in third gear, trying to take it very steady. You can see the car ahead is gone off track and rejoins. So I guess they're in the same position as me, coming out on wet tyres, trying to make it work, but it just isn't working because the way the tyres are coming out the pits are not warmed up or nothing yet. Well, they could be warmed up. Let me know down in the comments below. Are GT3 tyres warmed up? I'm not 100% sure. They are on a set of Corsa. Your boy Dan does block me, but we do manage to get through, and then your boy Dan blocks the person behind, which is kind of convenient for me. Thank you very much. But yeah, going back to the tyres, I know in ACC GT3 tyres are preheated where GT4s are not preheated. So I'm not too sure what they are on Forza, but like I say, let me know down in the comments below if the tyres are preheated on these cars. Coming up to the last corner, braking down to third gear, letting it coast around this corner, taking it steady, being a bit more cautious. I did have a lot more track room to use up, but sometimes it's not always best to go to the outer part of the track. You can see it's sopping wet, where it's going to be quite slippy. Braking up to the 200 marker, just to reduce the speed for this corner. You can brake at the 100 marker, but it can be a bit late in the wet, so I'm taking again more cautiously. Surprisingly enough though, Tito Gerbagrossa in P1 is not really making much time on me. They are 10 seconds ahead, but I'm managing to hold that time about there, where P3 Raid Aaron is 7.7 seconds away. So luckily enough, I'm in a position where I'm actually keeping up, I guess. You know, although I'm in my own little race here, I am not losing. I'm being too slow, and I'm not gaining by being too fast. I mean, I would like to gain, but there's no way I'm going to make 10 seconds back in this car being my first time. Excuses, I know. Braking down to third gear, letting it coast around and to the outer part of the track. You can see the tyres are getting very cool. The water is very cold and wet. and I'm not really having the opportunity to push this car enough to try and warm those tires up. But we will make it work, braking down the second gear through this corner and start accelerating down this back straight here. Coming back over to your left hand side, you want to look out for the grass to end. Just before that, braking down the third gear, coasting around this curb, and you can see you do go out a little bit just due to the camber and the crest of the hill. It is a bit off, so you got to be mindful of that on this track. That's what I quite love about this track, because it catches a lot of people out. Braking again just at the 200 marker, just dabbing it on a little bit, getting the car under control before I hit this corner, because this is another corner where everybody likes to go into the sandpit. This is why I like this track so much. It has these weird quirks to it, and it's absolutely brilliant track. I did do this track in AC in the Super Touring Cars, and it was an absolute blast. I went back onto Super Touring Cars, I think yesterday or the day before, just out of curiosity. Not multiplayer or nothing like that. It was literally me and the AI, and there's no way I was keeping up with them. The AI and AC was on a whole nother level of wow, and I was in the level of you are terrible, come back when you learn to drive again. So I have to retrain myself there, because they are totally animal. There's no ABS, no traction control, no nothing, and they're very tail happy cars, the Super Touring Cars. As we're on our last lap, P1 is 12.6 seconds ahead, so I've lost 2 seconds in 2 laps, which I can't really grumble. It's a second a lap. It's not too bad. I'm pretty proud of myself to hold that position. We have gained on P3 though. They are 9.7 seconds behind me now, which is absolutely brilliant. So like I say, I know this latter part of the race has been a little bit boring being by myself, but we have managed to stay alive on the track and managed to not lose too much time from the car in front and have people gain on us either. We did have Lady Luck heavily on our side, and I think that was the reason we won, because of the weather change and the steady tactic on it all, where people were more fighting and trying to gain that position very early on. We stayed patient and waited for things to develop, and it developed in our favor. Anyway, on to the next race to see how we do there. We are at Grand Oak Raceway. We have the longer version of the track, not the touring car short version, which I know very well. As we do start on the finish line, we start in P16 position, but we get a hell of a good start off the line and make a few places already. Cutting in through here, let off the throttle a little bit to keep the nose on the ground, and we come up behind another Corvette, so I'm not alone. Braking, we get dive bombed around and sent to the outer part of the track. No idea who done it. There's a lot of cars there, and there's a lot of chaos going ahead, so we do get punted back to P19. A bit of a pain in the butt, but what can you do? It is, I was warned that GT can be a little bit like this, so let's embrace the chaos. As we're coming down this hill, you want to look out for the billboard on the left hand side. Just after that, there is a entry road. That is your braking point down to third gear and cutting in through this corner. I do end up clipping up the Corvette to my right hand side and send myself off to the other side of the track. Like I say, I was expecting them to go a bit faster than I was, but we got bundled up. Braking down into third gear around this corner here, a few more going off track, so we're getting easy pickings on places and moving up by not actually having to overtake. Anyway, the Corvette and Alpine have a little battle. I think that's an Alpine, could correct me if I am wrong, but he does have a very good run down this hill here and manages to blow past the Corvette. It is very, very quick in a straight line, that car. My options are really to stay in the tow of Spud 407. Well, Spud 407 turns a very sharp left, unexpectedly to be fair. I think there's a little bit latency going on between me and the other players, or the other players and me. Nothing like something keeping you on your toes. As you're coming around this next corner, you want to be in third gear, coasting it round, and you pretty much could do this in one full sweep if you get it just right and accelerate at the right point, so you don't need to adjust the wheel. You want to try to make a move on this Lamborghini in front. They are going a little bit slower than me, they brake earlier than me, so I'm going to take a little chance of a dive bomb through here, and I just missed the correct way of dive bomb without taking something out. It was only a door rub. We didn't put anybody off the track, but it doesn't look very clean. But I made the move work, and it was quite a good move, I must add. They do have a better run out of that corner than I do, so I'll give that player space, let them take their position back. And as I'm coming through this curve now, they are on the outer part of the track. I'm taking the inside, so I'm going to have a quicker line through them, looking out for the blue hood and accelerating out of the corner. Again, the Lamborghini is behind me. They're going to have a slipstream on me now, so I'm going to have to lose that position again. There's no point defending and getting pushed off track like that. Luckily enough, I don't get a penalty for it, but I could have gave that player also a bit more room. That was definitely, I would say, more my fault for not giving them more room when I should have given them more room, knowing they were on the inside and doing the same kind of maneuver I'm doing. Anyway, braking down to third gear, coasting it around this corner now. I have the revs low to have better control of the vehicle. I'm coming around the left-hand curve as well. Like I say, you can take this in one full sweep. If you stay in third gear, coasting it around, accelerating out of the corner and overtaking the Aston Martin. Coming down the hill again. Looking out for the billboard in left-hand side and braking just after it. There's an entry road. There it is. Braking into third gear and coasting it over the curb. I do miss the curb, which then affects my exit in speed and time. So I move out the way of the Lamborghini because that one was definitely faster than me coming out. And the Aston Martin's right behind me. And this is where I was distracted by the Aston Martin and I went into the back of Dorian in the Lamborghini. Knowing that I waited for Dorian to go back in front, that was definitely my fault and there's no point in me taking that position on. It's better to be fair than it is to win. Going into the pits, I don't know why. They may have been on soft tyres, surprisingly. Seeing now how fast they were, it wouldn't surprise me if they were on soft tyres. Anyway, down with the brakes, coming around this corner under 25 miles per hour and accelerating up for this latter part here. And then we come back over, dabbing onto the brakes, down to third gear. And the corner does get tighter on exit than it does on entry, so be mindful of that. Going back to your left-hand side in one full sweep. Looking around the whole corner, the Aston Martin goes off track, so that's another position gained. Coming up to the end of our last lap, we are still in P12 position. Not going to be able to make a move on the Ferrari in front. They do have a 0.5 second penalty, so if I can keep up with them, that means I have that position gain. As you can see now, I have a better run through that corner now. They go to defend, I go to the other side, and they go to defend some more. So I move ultimately back onto the left-hand side, stay to my left-hand side, and see if I can make another move. But with all the distraction in place, they go off track. So thank you for that, buddy. And yeah, that position is now mine. Sometimes you gotta try and distract the car in front by swinging left and right, trying to make them think that you're going to be able to take a position. Although they was faster than me, as you can see, they were pulling away from me, I still managed to distract them enough for them to go off track. And the person in front did an awesome slide at the end of the race and took another car out. Anyway, overall, that was a P11 at the end of that race. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more GT3, let me know down in the comments below, and I shall see you all next time. Goodbye.